Okay, I'm Andy Lee Graham, and I'm laughing because I'm going to be making most of my videos in the room. Okay, I'm in Lake Athlon. I'm in the city of Panajachel, one of the best climates on the planet, and that means that there's no need for air conditioning, no need for furnaces. Beautiful, beautiful lake. The noise is getting to be a problem. That's why I'm going to be in the room. I'm going to go to Panama, I think, maybe March 10th, I think. And then I'll come back by land all the way through the Darien Gap. I'll go through Medellin and I'll come through the Darien Gap in between Colombia and Panama, all the way back to Guatemala. Then I'll probably fly to the USA. I think. I think that's the game plan. Okay, I'm going to talk today about I woke up angry diary. Okay, and I'm realizing that one of the biggest problems that I have, and is to be a good example. Um, I wrote a chapter in my book today, and Henry David Thoreau, in a lot of ways, was a man that went to Walden Woods, and I think he gave kind of a fantasy lifestyle to people. And I'm not sure why people are really enamored with him because of. I'm not enamored with him as a hero of mine because he went to the woods. I thought that was relatively an easy thing to do. Okay, it's like we haven't lived in the woods all our lives. From a billion years ago or whatever it was. We've always lived in the woods, and we just barely left the the woods a few generations ago. Okay, so we didn't have electricity like 300 years ago, right? Um, okay, so I'm trying to understand why people get angry, and it's definitely the number one reason why people travel, and why they can't travel. There's two different reasons here. Um, Trying to understand how to deal with your anger and your frustrations, your emotion. Probably 85% of the people that are living abroad because they're angry at something. Normally, it's just this nebulous thing like the USA, like that has any way to. I don't know how you get angry at a country, but they do. And they get angry at Sweden, they get angry at France, they get angry at whatever the country they are. And I think the solution is a geographical cure and go someplace else. Okay, but I left the United States because I met a Norwegian girl, I met an Argentina girl, and I thought this life is much better than what I was in the United States. And I guess probably I was angry at the women's situation in the United States. Nonetheless, we can all be happy right where we're at. Okay. On the other side is I've been sitting here thinking, how do I systematically set up a process where I remove all possible angers in my life? Now I have some fears and frustrations which are very difficult to remove. Like I don't have that much money right now, right? I'm living on, I don't know, $450 a month in Social Security. I have full coverage insurance, and I get about $100 to $200 a month in Patreon. Okay, and I hope that grows to the point where I feel safe. Okay, it's not quite. There's no way I feel safe. Okay, but I'll, I don't know what to say. Life goes on, right? You just have no choice. Um, okay, so I'm trying to figure out a I want to know a way for me to know how to slice and dice what makes me angry. So I started a thing the other day, the 5 triggers that make Andy angry. Well, it's not that simple. Okay, they're not just 5 things. So what I decided to do is just like Henry David Thoreau kept a journal. I'm going to write a journal. I didn't go to the woods and write a journal where I had no frustrations. Okay, I wrote a journal. I've been writing a journal for I don't know 25 years, right? And I blogged, written things, blah 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 for 25 years. I made over 5,000 videos. This is the same as a journal. You're thinking out loud, okay? and a little bit more impactful because you also have people that attack your own journal. Okay, I don't know what Henry David Thoreau would have done if he would have got all of his journals attacked. In the book I read of Laura Dawson Walls, it's quite obvious that he got pretty frustrated when somebody gave him a bad review or things like that. I'm not sure if what he was probably a genius at was separating himself from the turmoil. Okay, um, and that does take a lot of genius. Okay, I'm not going to do it because I think the greater genius is to be in the middle of chaos and stay calm. Okay, so I decided what I'm going to do is I woke up angry diary. Okay, I have a diary on every morning when I wake up. I ask myself, is my nose running? And I have a little thing on the wall I post that says, has a set of questions, and there's like 7 of these sheets. Uh, I just remade them yesterday. I'll just show you real quick. This is one showing how to massage the skull sutures. This is different questions. Okay, so what I have is just a set of questions listed next to my bed, whatever. These are kind of reminders, okay? They create cognitive dissonance. They create a question mark in my mind, and they look for answers, right? Because your mind just works in your subconscious. Okay, so Henry David Thoreau was to me quite an angry man. If you read chapter 1, okay, economy, he's like 75 times, probably 100 times. I didn't count them completely. I was too lazy. But about 100 times he tells you society is kind of crazy. But what did he do? What did he do? He wrote it in a book, and he took it from an abstract thing. So what the guy was genius at was taking his subconscious mind and putting it into paper. And then he wrote in a very poetic way that you hardly even knew he was insulting the world, right? I always laugh because I've just been reading, I've read the chapter Economy twice now in the last 2 months. And this guy was radically angry at society. Or maybe he accepted society the way he is, but no matter what he was, he had to write a book about it, right? And that's pretty serious. Okay, but let's see what he wrote it down, okay? And if I I woke up angry diary, okay? Now that don't have to be this complicated, okay? All you got to do is ask yourself, what was I frustrated about yesterday? I talked to this guy who was giving me a great big long lecture. I'll tell you what, I was frustrated yesterday. I got a great big long lecture from this man on that nobody's in ketogenic diet. And I go, and I'm sitting in front of Chalos, and he's like leaning into me, pushing on me, and I can't hear, the car's going by, and I go, hey, relax. And he says, you don't understand. And I go, we're in chaos, right? I said, please explain in a simple sentence what you mean. He finally used the word fat adapted, okay, which means that you're in keto when your body switches from sugar and the carbohydrates and glycogen in the muscles to eating fat. This could take up to 12 weeks. Sometimes it can take a year. But the thing is that I didn't really care because he was ranting, okay? And it seems to be an epidemic on the planet. When people think that somebody's listening, they suddenly think it's the desire is that we should rant to each other instead of just talking calmly with each other. Now, inside the United States, it's not this way. Okay, when I go around in Fort Wayne, Indiana, Orlando, people are really talking to each other, kind of fun and calming. You don't get me wrong, you got those tattooed people with the nose rings talking about dystopia lifetime, but they're much easier to avoid. Okay, and on the other side is what makes me angry is when somebody can't talk in a civilized way, and I go, this guy was 74 years old. I said, hey, 74 years old. you know, what's the point? Okay, nothing's going to change. I mean, it's not like I'm going to change the world. Okay, he's not going to change the world, and we're just trying to eat and live healthy. Okay, and I I I did a thing wide, but there's two different angles, and this is what I learned by waking up and writing it down. So all I would do is probably take a piece of paper and say, I would just get up every morning and write it on the wall, and I'd say rant keto. I put it on the wall. I have these things already taped up on the wall where I can write these things down, and I'll show you. Up on that wall over there, where's the door at? Okay, on the door over there, you see all those index cards? They're already taped up there with some masking tape. And the goal is that I can just sit there and write ideas on them. And you don't have to, you don't have to be a writer to journalize. Just a couple notes is all you need, but you need to take it from just a thought into something reality. And that's why putting it on a piece of paper is really valuable. People want to have all these nebulous, confused thoughts, and they don't realize that the inconsistencies and the incongruencies of these ideas is what causes you to be angry. It's confusion that makes people angry. People get angry because they're confused. Frustration, confusion, ambiguities. Clarity is serenity. Okay. Oh, let me think. Okay, so don't. But I don't want people to be angry. And one of the things they always tell me is, Andy, don't be angry. And I go, that's ridiculous. We all get angry. Don't be angry. Like you could suddenly just shut it up. That's ridiculous. This is one of the biggest problems I think that we have in today's society is everybody is stuffing their emotions in there, and then they go attack on the backside. Because if you don't just say what you're thinking, you put it off, you just take it out somewhere else, right? And but the goal is just to sit there and calmly say, Andy, you seem pretty frustrated today. What's going on? And maybe I'll talk about it. But the worst thing I can do is get sympathy, or somebody enabling me to sit there and rant all day. I pretty much stopped this guy yesterday and stood up and said, I got to go because I'm not going to deal with this, right? If somebody starts screaming, I'm going to leave. Just bottom line. It's just not a productive conversation, and it's not a discussion. If a discussion is where there's two sides to the argument, there's two sides. That's a discussion. When somebody tells me the only way there is the highway or my way, I go, why are we talking? A discussion is about things that are opinions that we could discuss over. Sometimes we want to think it over, and sometimes I call up my one friend Jeff in the United States and ask him what's going on in the United States. But a wake up diary. That means I wake up and then I write down what happened, and then I sort of ask myself, how did I cause this problem? And sometimes it's me. They often say in AA that if you got one finger pointed at somebody, you got three fingers pointed back. Okay, what does this have to do with travel? It has everything to do with travel. Absolutely, the reason why people have travel is the emotional problems. It's just simple. That's all there is to it. The money's not the problem. Okay, the cost of living as a world traveler is like, I don't know, 10 times cheaper than living in the United States. Frustrations, anger, you don't like your room, whatever. That is the problem. You don't just accept life on life's terms. They're not happy with anything. Nobody's ever content. They never really just go, I like everything that's happening to me. But I do think Thoreau was, one way his genius was correct, Henry David Thoreau, is I think he was always systematically trying to figure out what was great. Like the transcendentalists wanted to say nature was great, and I agree with that. I think that he doesn't realize that humans are part of nature too, right? And I think Ralph Waldo Emerson sort of evaded the issue, and I believe that the goal here is to isolate yourself, not in the woods, but isolate yourself from the people that are always triggers. Okay, a trigger is something that, boom. I always laugh because yesterday Mona put a big pack of tortillas. I've been trying to go carnivore or totally keto here. She put a big bag of tortillas and she put it right in front of the table in front of me. And I was like going, please. I didn't go into detail because she can't hear very well. She's an 80-year-old woman. And I go, can you remove that temptation? Can you just put it below the table? But it was, I didn't eat any. And I felt really good because I survived without breaking my rule. And when you go on a fast, it needs to be a rule. Okay, I mean, when you go on a diet, you need to adhere to the rules. There's no real maybes, right? But first of all, when I'm dealing with anger, is I have to say I'm an angry freaking person. I'm a violent, aggressive, possibly mean-spirited person, depending on the situation. I am extremely capable of being violent. Why? You got to be travel the world. You just can't be. I mean, you can't be a wimp. I mean, you're going to be ran over by everybody. Everybody thinks that they're going to do. Now, a lot of people want to come so they can run over the locals. Okay, But I mean, there's not a day that goes by. I was laughing this morning. I went and bought some safety pins. One of my number one safety pins is one of my number one gears. Okay, and I bought 2 huge packs, and I wanted the big ones. And they really just kept trying to push me on the one bag. And the man asked the lady how much they were, and she said 15Q, which is, I don't know, $3, $2. But they didn't have the size I wanted. I wanted a bigger size. So they decided that down at this other store they had more safety pins. I happened to have them close. And these are only 6Q, okay? And she was trying to tell me they were 20Q because there's the bigger ones, okay? And the truth is this. She was just making up the rules as she went. And that can get you very frustrated, right? Because unjust behavior makes you angry. But I got mine. I got 2 packs, big packs for 6Q, which is about 90 cents each, right? 8Q to the dollar, so I guess it's about 80 cents. The point is this: when somebody tries to continually cheat you, and that's the world. I mean, anybody in the world cheats you. That's the reason why supermarkets. I remember when Gene was so happy because Latore came in, and he didn't have to negotiate the prices. And I go, but that's kind of the game, having fun negotiating. I don't lose at negotiations much, but some people always lose. But they're not aggressive enough. They don't want to say, I'm an aggressive person. That's just ridiculous. Everybody's an aggressive person. Everybody I know is radically aggressive. Okay, I don't know one person in my world that I couldn't list out multiple times they've been aggressive. They don't think they are. They don't realize that their passive aggressive is just worse than their direct aggressive. Okay, but wake up angry diary. So how do you do it? You just write down what it is, and then you kind of say, if you can load yourself. I load myself up with thoughts. My question is like, why am I angry at this guy? Okay. And I'm angry at him because he didn't really understand that he was assuming I'm an idiot. Okay. I got unbelievable amount of information on my biohacking. I got this database. I think it's got 600 different lines in it, records in it, all pointing at different, let's say I got 250 playlists in YouTube that I've collected that I can watch. And I came back and I made a playlist of Fat Adapted because of him. On the other side, so he led me astray into knowledge, which was good. On the other side is, why do you got to be hollering about this? We're already in one of the world's most noisy places. I mean, I have never been, Iquitos, Peru is a lot noisier here. Iquitos, Peru, and Lake Atitlan, Guatemala are becoming the champions of noise, okay? And it's the tuk-tuk. The tuk-tuks here in Iquitos, Peru, yeah, they got these 3-wheel trikes that are noisy with no mufflers on. I kind of think that they're going to have to get rid of the tuk-tuks, okay, because they're just not dealing with them well. But it's too noisy, and then the dogs, and then the music. And this morning, I was laughing. I was frustrated. Every day, we got to own these things. In AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, they say the biggest danger to an alcoholic is a resentment, ressentir, to feel, to re-feel and chew on a thought. Okay, I was laughing this morning. They have this water pump right behind the chair. I was talking to Mona, and she can't seem to ever talk loud enough to. She talks to herself more than she talks to me, and I'm sitting there trying desperately to hear the water pumps on. Guy behind me hitting the concrete brick with a hammer, and the girl turns on the music, and I go, "Yay! Yo quiero más bulla. I want more noise, please." I don't get it. Okay, I do think that a calm person likes a quiet place, and I think a person with nothing in their brain likes a noisy place to keep something vibrating in their brain. Ever think about that? Why do people turn up the music? If they got nothing in there, they got to fill it up with vibration. Okay, so if you accept that you are angry, if you accept that you're a violent person, you got a lot better chance of being a happy person. Of course I'm violent. How often do I have to be really violent? Very seldom. How often am I just sort of controlling? Probably 4 times a day. How do I avoid getting in these situations where I have a confrontation? I write them down. And then I sit there and say, is it something, I do the serenity prayer breakdown. I call it a breakdown because it's God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. That's the 3 categories of life, right? God grant me the serenity to change the things I can. The wisdom to accept God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change the things I can change, and the wisdom to know the difference. So the wisdom here is writing it down. Okay, so you write it down and say, can I change it? I can't change this guy that was lecturing yesterday. He's always been kind of crazy. First time I met him, he was good. What was funny, he wrote me an email and said he wanted something $6,000 to give me blah, blah, blah. And I was like laughing. Okay. But I was going to reply to the email, and I said, no, I can't change him. Just leave it go. Okay, so he's not bad intentions. He is who he is, and he isn't going to change, and he's old enough that I really just need to listen sometimes, and I probably would do better if when he came around, I just said a waved and walked on down the street, because I don't want him to have the temptation to talk snarky. He normally talks snarky. In fact, everybody I know that's a gringo on this lake talks snarky. I am hopelessly trying to figure out how to get people that don't believe they're an expert on everything on the lake. You just can't talk with somebody without them suddenly going into this diatribe of all these things you got to learn. And I go, hey, can't we just talk about what you're doing today in the lake and having a good time? Okay. Now, I make these videos, which is part of my ability to take a subconscious idea and put it into reality. And that's what a journal is. When Henry David Thoreau, the wisdom of Henry David Thoreau was he took a subconscious mind and put it into paper, and he made it somewhat make sense, or he tried to. Now, on the other side, he doesn't try to make everything. He knows that a foolish consistency is a hobgoblin of little minds. You can't be consistent. There is no way. Okay, and you shouldn't try to be. It's just not it's a no-go. But wake up every morning and ask yourself, what was I frustrated about yesterday? And I think that you're going to find that you can break it down at the serenity prayer and say, I can't change this, therefore maybe I should estrange this relationship. If the entertainment of talking with this person doesn't outweigh the thing. Now, I'm in a having a trouble with there's very little conversation right now in Peñasquito or San Pedro. mainly because the young people are really only talking to their phones. Anybody below 30 seems to only have a communication with their phones. Anybody that's older than 50 seems to be just angry. They left the United States because they're angry. Then you got this window where there's just nobody. Everybody went home at COVID-19, and they're still gone. There's nobody, hardly any. I go to the coffee shops down to the place, and there's nobody there. The kitchen porch where I used to hang out, there used to be 10 people every morning. Nobody. And what we do have is an overabundance of older women that seem to have dogs. Okay. Older women with dogs and peanut butter. Okay. Write it down. That's all you got to do. It's as simple as it gets. But I hope that I give you some inspiration to try to solve a problem. And it's simple. If you give anything that's too complicated, people don't do it. So if you want to make a habit about something, you got to do it every day. How do you make it a habit? Like I said, I got these cards hanging on the wall, and I can just go there while I'm writing down my weight. I get up, I write down my weight. I ask myself 3 things. I want to know my weight. I want to know if my nose is running or my eyes are running, if I ate something yesterday that is causing a problem. And I can add to it, anything make me frustrated. If it did make me frustrated, I ask, can I accept it? Can I change it? And do I have the wisdom to know the difference? God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change. Most things we can't change. People we can't change. We can change our clothes. We can do stuff. I can make a change and walk farther away from this gentleman. I'm not sure what I'm going to do, and I'm still thinking about it because he's not. There is a place in the world for the crazies. Okay? Sometimes they're quite brilliant. This man's quite brilliant. He just is he's just very, very eccentric. This is the reason, one reason people should come to Lake Athlon is if you're a psychiatrist or a psychologist or a philosopher, come here because it's just like the meat in it's everything you ever wanted to eat, okay? Everything you ever wanted to learn about, you can observe here daily. Okay, I appreciate if anybody that is interested in helping me to stay making these videos, please become a Patreon. There's a link in the thing. It's a way of supporting me. There's a way to buy me a cup of coffee in the links. Oh, wait a minute. I don't think that's one in the links. You got to go to my links in my channel. But then, nonetheless, life is good. Please hit the subscribe button and share this with your friends. And I'm always looking for a brain buster question, something that I really like to talk about. Like my friend Cliff asked me, he said, Andy, why are you always smiling? And that's been a tough question. I've been working on this for 2 or 3 days. Why am I always smiling? It's not that easy. It's a summation of a whole package of things. But my life is good, and I don't have enough money, but who cares? Christopher Columbus said, all money does is cause you to be busy. And I agree. The more money you have, the more busy you are. And the more busy you are, sadly, the less you smile. I pride myself in having about 8 hours of free roaming brain time a day. And I'm working on this book of mine, but I'm going to make it into an open source book. But anybody that would like to think about going to Colombia, Medellin, and going through the Darien Gap, I would consider taking somebody along with me, just especially a woman less than, say, 40 years old. Okay, in great shape, and physically strong, and emotionally strong, and doesn't get angry at every little thing. That's a pretty big one, right? Okay, life is good, guys. I'm here and you're not. Why not? Lake Athlon, Guatemala, and I'm dying to get out of here. My sisters came now. I can get out of here. I'm really needed. I don't need to be in this place. My friends in Togo are asking me to come back constantly, every single day. I've never had more friends than in this country. Okay, hit the subscribe button. Go down to the description. Become a Patreon, and then you'll have the ability to communicate with me. I'm not really communicating with anybody that's not a Patreon. I have a limited amount of life to give to you. Okay, I'm here. That's why I make videos. I don't make it so you don't. I make videos so I don't have to talk to you.